Okay, I'm just gonna ramble on because I had just a great idea. Folklore, I prefer Evermore to be honest, but let's not say that out loud. I just feel like if Taylor didn't do folklore and she just released another album, like just kind of being like, this is my life, it would have definitely been like Evermore. So I feel like Evermore just tells you more about like where she was mentally in her life. Which looking back on it at the time, I think the warning signs were there. But like, we didn't really think about that because I was just like, oh yeah, Evermore's an extension of folklore. So like, it's all fake. I don't think it was. But anyway, not what I was talking about. Um, Geminis. They're just so in their own world. And I feel like they obviously overthink everything, but it must be like to be a Gemini, like being stuck in your zone and feeling like you have superpowers. Like you just know everything about everyone. But like you're not aware of it because your brain's just like, you kind of forget that like things that everyone else does, like you also do, like, and vice versa. Like the things you're doing like in your brain and like just existing, like, yeah, Gemini, like other people do it too. Like it's just funny. It makes sense why. I mean, don't get me wrong, some of them are really smart, really cunning, but like I would imagine it'd be really common for them to be like, wow, I've got a really good idea. And then they tell the idea and it's like, oh wait, that's already a thing. But like they're like that about everything, which is really fucking funny because like people like me are just like, well, yeah, like we know. Like, so let's just move on with life. Like, I know. Like, show me something I don't know. Like, I'm so used to knowing what's real and what's not real. But like the thing is, some people get lost in nothing, which is hilarious. Because like I get lost in realness. I'm like, oh my god, please take me to Fantasyland. And then some people are like in Fantasyland being like, can someone please ground me before I die? But yeah, these Geminis just have this barrier. It's like everyone's in their own world, almost. Because we are. Everyone's got a fucking brain. Um, and then people come along like me who are really good at reading people and really good at understanding and really good at like what might be hard, not just for Gemini, but for, I'm trying to think of like all the zodiac signs because like how they would approach it. Like even me, like I could be like, oh my god, no one can see the way I feel. Like I'm invisible. Like no one knows how I'm feeling, and then like I forget people can see me. Or not that I know people can see me, but like for me, it's the way that I feel is showing on my body, like through my expression, like my body language, even if I don't like realize it. Like I know, but then I forget. But like I know. It's not about knowing because I just know things. It's about like the doing things that I forget. Like, yeah, the way I feel is gonna manifest in my body. Like I'm not as invincible as I think I am. But like some people like can't come to that conclusion about themselves so easily. Like, I don't know, it must be really hard for some people to just not look in the mirror, and I don't mean that in a bad way, but like maybe it makes them uncomfortable thinking about themselves and thinking about like, this is how I do things, like how do other people do stuff. Like, yeah, like other people are other people, like everyone's gonna do things differently and whatnot. But like how important is that to you? Because for me, it's important because it's about understanding people. But I feel like there are a lot of other people who just like don't really care because they'll just like work off the vibe or that you give them, or they'll half pay attention to your words, or they'll just like basically take you at face value pretty easily. So it's like anything that you tell them is like the truth. Where it's like for me, it's like, oh, I need to know a bit more to make sure that you're being authentic. You know? Like obviously that can also be bad because you could be like too skeptical. You can be like, everyone's out to get me, so I'm just not gonna try anything. which is, you know, protective, but can be a bit like, what's the word? Too controlling, or too, you can get trapped in because you're like not even trying, or like not even going for an experience. But I forgot what I was saying. Crickets. I could have been talking about fruit for all I know. Living la dolce vita. What the fuck was I saying? Yeah, I just think maybe some people just don't want to look inside. That's fine. They kind of just know themselves. They don't really think about it. They just know that this is me. Like, this is my hand. It just does stuff. They don't really, it's not that maybe they don't care, but it's, you know, just not important to like think like, well, who am I as a person? Like, what is my soul? What am I feeling on the inside? Like, I really am a brain, like, and a heart. Like, how does that manifest into like the world and into other people and places and things? So yeah, there's just people that just, you know, they just don't care about that. They just work off the feelings and the vibes and everything else, which is interesting, and it's so beautiful when you're someone who exists like that, when you exist through your body solely rather than like through your head. But then you get the people that can do both. Then you get the people who can only do one. It's like one or the other. You know, where are the people that use their head and their heart? You know, like, I want, like, where are the people that, I mean, they're all there. What am I trying to say? Because I'm like, where are they? Like, they're obviously scattered across the planet, but like the people that just, you know, use your head. Because sometimes when you use your heart, things can be brutal but rewarding. Like, I get that. Like, you'll go through hard stuff, but you'll come out of it with something beautiful. Even like pain or heartbreak or sadness can be beautiful in the end. Like, it's like a lesson learned. But I guess the other way of seeing that is, if I already know what's going to happen to me, then I'll just avoid the lesson. You know? It's like two extremes. It's like, but why would you, like, if you, I guess, primarily being someone who lives in their head, it's just the question that I ask is like, if the thing that you did felt so bad that it caused you so much pain, and you knew that if you did it again, you'd feel that all over again, so why did you do it again? Which sounds, you know, that's, I feel like that can be taken out of context. Like, I just kind of meant it quite literally. I wasn't trying to attribute it to anything. But it's just, the only reason I would say, I would phrase the question like that is because what goes through my mind is, because I know this thing will make me feel that bad. Like, I don't want to feel that way at all. So I'm not even going to bother. I'm going to like, you know, I'm going to reject it because like, I just want to not even feel it at all. But then, like, there are people that also do that. You understand, it just depends on what order and who they are. Because there are people that will reject things completely because like that feeling is like, it's just too much. You just can't be bothered dealing with it. Like, it's just, I don't even want to do that. But then what is that? I don't want to do that. Whatever that is different to other people. For some people it might be like intimacy and like really being like connected on a really deep emotional level with someone. that might be like too much for them. They might be like, well, it sounds nice, but like I physically cannot be vulnerable with another person without, you know, feeling like I'm gonna vomit. Whereas like then like I guess something different from intimacy, like having like just sexual relationships, like purely sexual, or just like whatever, just like, you know, rather than be emotionally vulnerable with someone, like just be physically, because you can just get what you need and not have to deal with like the other shit, which is fine. Like you can come to that agreement before sleeping with someone and being like, yo, we're just doing this, let's have fun, nothing else. Or like whatever, you know, like going out and finding someone and like sleeping with them and just like it's whatever, like that can see like that's like nothing. But like, have you ever thought about like the opposite of that? So where it's like being really intimate and like really overly emotional and like interconnected and like almost like a spiritual bond, like that level of intimacy. What if that's like what you wanted, what you were best at, and like kind of like what you did, like just because like you can go to someone and you connect with them emotionally, like you have like a true and genuine emotional relationship with someone, but it's like done instantaneously. It's like a hookup. It's like, yo, like instead of like come over and fuck me, it's like come over and let's talk about ourselves. Or something like that, you know what I mean? But like that's like the norm. Like it's not a big deal. Like you can walk away from one person like with a deep and meaningful, like powerful like presence over them from just like being your authentic self, and then like go to another person and then make the same type of passionate like connection. Like, do you know what I mean? Like make someone feel like understood and like together. Like that was like your everything. But what you were rejecting was being physically, like sexually connected to someone. Like that's what you reject, and that's what you're like fearful of. It's like, ugh, I can't do that. But like it's kind of like what you need, because like you want it, but you just for whatever reasons you just can't handle it. So you're just like, nah. But that's so interesting, because if you were the other person, you'd be like, I don't get it. Like, why are you so afraid of having sex? Like, I literally do it every day. Like, it's not a big deal. And then for the other person, it's like looking at you being like, I just don't understand why you don't want to be intimate with someone. Like, why won't you let your walls down and just be your authentic self? Like, why won't you open up? Like, I literally do it all the time. Like, I'm authentic 24/7 of the time, like no filter. Like, do you see? I'm like, you see how the two opposites are like, it's funny because it's like yin and yang, kind of like, it's like back and forth, it's like a mirror. So it's like there's so much potential for clashing because it's like two very different approaches. But the thing is, I feel like those two people would have a better chance of being aware enough emotionally and mentally, and like, you know, having enough autonomy over their consciousness to realize that and be like, well, actually it's the same but different. So rather than focusing on like what's different, we should be focusing more on like the fact that like we're doing the same things basically, although like the outcomes are different. Yes, but like we're doing the same things, like we're feeling the same things, you know, which might be weird, you know. It's like, yes, other people feel that way, which isn't a bad thing, because I feel like if you were to say that to someone who had such deep emotions, it would almost feel like reductive, or like, what's the word? It would just feel like being able to feel things just so intensely and magically and beautifully. I mean, obviously you can abuse it. Period. Obviously you can abuse it and chase feelings, like, period. But that doesn't mean that, like, you know, like, they might be intense and wild and over the top and dangerous, but, you know, like, they're just very understandable at the same time. Like, I understand what you're going through, even though my approach is, like, completely different, you know? Like, not, it's about wavelengths, but, like, it's about understanding. And if you're lucky enough to understand each other, then, you know, what becomes more important, or what should become more important than the fact that it's different, is the fact that it's the same. So that's not something to be afraid of, because I'm just like, I just want to find people that feel the same things, because, like, I can't be the only person feeling the shit that I feel. Like, if you put on S&M by Rihanna, oh my god, that feeling, I will literally start humping the wall. Like, that's universal. Like, if you, like, let's go in a room together, let's put on S&M, and, like, how do we want to move? Like, I'm sure we will, like, film the best porno ever. Like, the energy levels are gonna be like, should I look at me or the camera? Anyway, so yeah, just, like, it makes sense. Like, that's why I wouldn't want to say that like, you're easy to read. Like, I don't want to strip you of your feeling abilities, but it's also very straightforward. Like, because I don't really focus on the intensity, I just focus on the emotion. So it's like, I understand some people's emotional responses to stuff is just so big and dramatic and intense and crazy and thrilling and extraordinary and, like, otherworldly. But, you know, like, whatever way that manifests, but, like, I still know the emotion that you're feeling is sadness or anxiety or frustration or, you know, anger. Although it might be scary, because that feeling is so strong that you can't control it. And I know how hard that must be to know that. But I understand. I think that's the best way that I can describe it, is that I've felt those things that you've felt before. Obviously, everyone's felt sad, everyone's felt happy, everyone's felt this, that. But I mean, there's a certain way that you feel that's very intense and very, it's like the blood slows down, the time goes slow, and there's lots of waves. And also I see, like, patterns. I feel like it's like air. Like, you can't see air, but, like, sometimes I can feel things. Like, actually, I feel and see things like air, but I don't know what air looks like. I mean, there's photos, I know, but I mean, like, whatever is floating around me, like, I can see it. So I'm just like, maybe that's not the same exactly what I see, but maybe the way that I perceive and the way that I feel and the things that I see, I think I get it. I've seen some things in my life, like a spiral or like a vortex, like being caught in something, in the way it's just like, it's just like going lower, and it's like someone's like squeezing you, almost like the notion of like, and then it's just like I just feel like my brain is just like crunching. You just go like lower and lower and lower, Like, you've got to get out of it, otherwise you'll be stuck in that spiral. Anyway, I should probably finish up. But yeah, basically, it's so beautiful when people feel like that. It's more interesting though when you're faced with someone who looks like they've never felt any singular form of emotion in their life, and they try and tell you that they've felt the things that you felt, and you're just like, you don't feel anything. You are so detached, you are so logical, you are so straight to the point, and so assured of yourself and your position and the way that you stand firmly like a leader. You know, like, there's no way you would be able to take emotion into consideration when making a decision or talking to someone or choosing, you know, to interact with someone or do something or do anything. How can you feel? You know, you always go through stressful things, but you don't appear stressed. You can be in stressful situations and not, you know, not break down. You can go through really hard things and come out of it with a smile on your face, knowing that, like, you've learned something and that you can move, you know, you're going to move on from it, and you know that you're stronger than it. You're strong enough to make it through. So you already know everything, so why would you feel anything? And then I think, I thought that too. I was wrong. I am very aware. I absorb a lot from everything that's around me. It's like all these colors and all this shit is just like going straight into my brain. It's like someone just put a USB into my brain, like every second of my life, and just like downloaded like 2 million files, and they're all like loading up in my brain. You know, I obviously have an advantage over not feeling then, because I don't really feel inclined to do things or talk to people, or, you know, if someone was trying to manipulate me emotionally, I wouldn't be able to feel it, because, you know, that logic and that brain kicks in and sort of diverts any attacks, if that makes sense, because they're fueled on what someone says when they attack you with their words or their actions or their manipulations. When they try and trap you in that spiral and they try and get to you, the reason it doesn't work for me most of the time is because those people are relying on their words and their actions causing an emotional response from the other person. But when you don't work off emotions, you know, like, you understand what is happening, but like, you don't feel like inclined to feel emotional about it. Like, you know, how would I say? I think this is a really good example. Basically, if someone, like, let's say something happened that like wasn't really your fault, and like whatever, but someone, you know, like, you fixed it all up, you like solved the problem, like everything's okay, you know, in the end, like, although whatever happened, but then you just have someone that just loves to complain. So it's not really like a personal thing. I mean, it can be, but I mean, like, they're the type of person where it's just like, you know, those emotions are so strong about what happened that they just need to just air it out, which is fine, like, you're allowed to, but, you know, there's also the potential, and I've also been faced with a lot of people who use that as leverage to sort of make people upset Like, they want you to feel bad about something that you did when, like, like, it's not about that you didn't do something wrong, but it's like you did something wrong and then you were told, and then you realized all the shit that you were doing, and you thought about it, and you were like, you know what? This is someone that I really care about. If I'm making them feel like this way, that's awful. They don't deserve that, especially if they like me, especially if they consider me a friend or more. Like, they should trust me, like they're putting their faith in me that I'm not going to make them feel bad. I'm not going to attack them. I'm going to lift them up, and I'm going to be someone in their life that shows them like how to love themselves, so that you can go off into the world and then find someone to love. That's what friends are. So if something slips and like I'm hurting someone, you tell me, because why would I not want you to tell me? Why would you keep that to yourself? Because that's my thought process. I'm like, shit, this person has been feeling this way about something that I'm doing, that I can change, that I can look and be like, you know what? Because I care about you, of course I'm gonna change. Like, the fuck? I'm not a dumbass. Like, if I was doing something intentionally to hurt someone, that's fucked. Especially someone that I love, because when I love people, I can't describe it, but I can feel it. And the people that I love are locked away, specifically in my heart, because they're going to be with me forever. I don't have time to hurt those people because I love them and they make me genuinely happy, and I want a life with them. I just want to be there and hold them in my arms and just love them and just make sure that they know that I really love them. I don't have time to treat them like shit. So if there's something that I've done, the only course of action I'll do every single friendship is, I understand this is how you feel. Give me some time, I'll reflect over what I can do. How can I change my behavior? How can I eliminate something? How can I wake the fuck up and fix this? And then I'll give it some time and I'll show them that I'm willing to change. Because you don't just say something and then take your word, like take it back, unless someone deserves that, because they're not appreciating you. But if you're the one in the wrong, then you do everything. You don't lose someone. You don't take someone for granted. You don't, so, you fight for people that are worth fighting for. If they're worth fighting for, you don't let them go. So you show them that I can change, and it's not because you're too aggressive or you're too needy or you're too emotional. I'm changing because I care about you, and I want to prove to you that you can be let down by someone only to be brought back up by that same person. Not because they're a cunt, not because they're manipulative, not because they're out to get you, not because they hate you, but just purely the only truth forevermore, the only intention they have is that they love you, because they love you. Sometimes it's really hard to get that across, especially when you're faced with someone that but it's not something to get upset about, because everyone has a journey to go down. Some people have been through a lot of shit in their life, and we all have different approaches of moving through things. And I know I'm grateful for my approach in life, but hard one to communicate to people. You know, at the end of the day, I know that I'm strong enough. Although it's gonna hurt, I know I'm strong enough to get through it. So rather than focusing on the pain that I'm feeling in the moment, I already know what pain I'm feeling. I already know everything. Rather than focusing on the pain, because before this has even happened, I've prepared. I know it's not specific, like I don't know what's gonna happen, I can't read the future, but I've already prepared, you know, a physical response for each emotional response, like that there is. So when something happens to me, like as I just said, I don't have to focus on the pain in the moment, because in that moment, all I'm thinking about is, I just gotta keep going. I just gotta keep pushing. Like, I don't count upwards. Like if I was counting to 100, I wouldn't go 0, 1, 2, 3. I would count down, because it's more of a relief. It's like, wow, there was 100. And each one, you know, it's like we're down to 70 and there's so many left to go. But also at the same time, you're like, but each one counts, and each one that I do is helping. And then, you know, you just push through. It's about just, you'll feel the difference. Like if 100 of something versus 10 of something, the weight, like you're gonna notice the difference. So it's just like that. It's just like, let's keep going. And then eventually you feel the lightness. You feel like the weight coming off your shoulders slowly. And then you finally reach the end and you've just got one more, and then it feels so good because you just feel like this weight is lifted off your shoulders and you can like fly. You've just got wings. I feel like that's my approach. And that helps me in so many ways, but kind of forgot what we were talking about. But anyway, you know, I don't know. I feel like sometimes you love people too much. Sometimes you understand people too much. That causes issues, because it gets to the point where you don't actually need to physically have contact with them in order to understand them, in order to interact with them, in order to find things out about them, in order to work out the way that they actually feel about you without actually having to have them tell you, which is a really scary thing. It's a very scary thing, because I feel like you forget that, like, we're both here, so we should talk. But depends, you know, there's a lot of things, like back to what I was talking about before with intimacy, like that's what I want, but I know you're too afraid of it, so that's fine. And you probably think that I can't, I don't know. I don't want to say it hard enough, but the thing is, like, I would. Of course I would. Like, that's the thing. Some people are too scared to ask me things. I'm just waiting for them to, so I can show them that, like, I would. I 100% would. You have no idea. And I feel like that's hard, because sometimes all I do is show people that I mean something, but they don't get the wrong message, or it's not good enough for them. It's not good enough, but they just don't appreciate me enough. And they don't appreciate that this is how I do it, and this is how I show my love, and this is, you know, it hasn't clicked for them. And I've got to be aware of that there are people out there where it does click, and they do appreciate everything that I have to offer, and they do understand that this is just who I am. don't take it personally. And just love me and give me everything that I deserve. For being amazing. But it's fine. Oh, that was so much. What am I gonna title this video? I literally know no one is ever gonna watch this. Like, no one cares about me enough to watch 35 minutes. But just in case, anyone watches this, what should I say?